Welcome, everybody, to Texas, where we've got the Lone Star 135 here in the Truck Series. How's it going, Brandon?
Oh my!
I'm not gonna do this the whole time, I promise.
I would be impressed if you could, but I think you can tell which one of us is Texan up in this booth right now. But really good night, getting ready to see these truckers start off their playoff run, and this is fourth straight season Texas is the site of a playoff race here at SRN.
I am not Texan. Okay, I'm not. I'm Tennessean, but hey, it's close enough. We're okay. But hey, we do have a few of our drivers that are from Texas, so not far from the racetrack. Actually, Jonathan Byer from Jonathan Byer Racing is actually from the Dallas area, so not too far away from that track. But man, we have got a great race here tonight. We've got the playoff lucky dog going on. We've got the team championship stuff going on. I mean, we've got everything. So let's just jump right into it. Look at our playoff field already, and then you've got that playoff lucky dog just lurking down there underneath.
And honestly, I mean, you look at this, there's only 38 points, less than a full race worth of points, separating first Sean Jensick all the way down to 15th place Lucas Lyons. This entire playoff field can flip itself in one single race in Texas. The past couple seasons has proven to be a pretty clean race, but it is a pretty difficult track for some guys to figure out. So this race could really set up a field where, oh, by the way, we got a road course in round number 2.
Yeah, and think about the size of this field, too. So if you come in dead last in this field, you're getting next to nothing while the winners are getting 40 points or so. And so that could just change everything completely. So keep an eye on that. But Brandon, are you ready? Because it's time for the playoff Luckaroo Buckaroo.
My Texas hurts just hearing all this. But no, we talk about a shootout here for this lucky dog. It is going to be a wild one, a 20-way fight for that lucky dog position. You just pick anybody that's not in the playoffs in this field tonight, aside from maybe one or two guys, and they've got a shot at making their way into the playoff like Scott Healy did last night on the Cup side.
So here's how it works. If any of these guys, whoever of these 24 drivers make it to the finish line first out of these 24, they get into the playoffs. And so it's just that simple. Now, of course, they had to get here by racing a certain number of races and everything, but this is our way of, hey, if you just had a really crummy season, but you're still a decent driver, let's get you into the playoffs and see what you do there.
And you're not going to get the bonus points for finishing in the top 15 in the point standing, so you're going to have a little bit of a hit there. But what did we see last night? Scott Healy, he goes out there, gets the lucky dog on the Cup side, finished third place. He's sitting above that cut line in 9th place after the first of 3 races. It is not unheard of for a lucky dog winner to go out there and make it into round number 2.
Oh, it's certainly tough, but not unheard of. And while we got that going on, we also have the team side of it getting really, really heated, but this is last week's matchup there on the screen.
Yeah, this is all from last week, and I mean, you're seeing, 1 point finish there. Everything really within 15 points, and that JW Jonathan Byer one, couple of heavy hitters here in the Truck Series. That was a 5-point matchup, but we keep waiting on this thing to separate in the standings. It ain't doing that. Everybody's still alive. There's a couple teams that could be eliminated from contention this week, but we're at week 14, and everybody's still alive for a playoff spot.
Yeah, you just never know what's going to happen, and that's why I love this place so much. This series so much is it's so tight because there's just so many good drivers in it and everything. But look at the team standings, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about here. JW Racing and Phoenix Virtual Racing separated by 1 point for the series league. But by the way, Brandon, they're racing tonight.
They are, and then, oh, by the way, right behind them, Threat Level Midnight and Zuyost, they're racing tonight. So, in a way, if the season ended right now, we'd have a tremendous preview of what that 1-2 matchup and the 3-4 matchup is going to be like to decide our champion and our third-place team there. But we still got a few weeks to go, and this thing could still shake up. And do not count out Jonathan Byer Racing or Rat Pack. They've got matchups against Tank and TJ's team, respectively, so they're still alive in this battle as well.
Absolutely, they are. And so pretty much nobody has actually been eliminated. I think we'll get a couple eliminations this week, after this week on the team side, but nobody has mathematically been eliminated yet. But take a look at those matchups, man. Zuyos versus Threat Level Midnight for that third, fourth place. PBR versus JW Racing for that first place side. Then you got Tank versus JBR. JBR really desperately needs that win against Tank. And then Rat Pack Racing desperately needs a win against TJ's team.
Yeah, and even though Tank and TJ's team are bringing up the rear of the field right now, they've gone out there and won some races, and JBR going to be a little short-handed tonight. Rat Pack has been solid as of late, but TJ's team has actually started to develop a nice little run here in these past few weeks, winning, I believe it's 2 out of their last 3 matchups. So I wouldn't count out any possible upsets there in those two, but obviously the eyes are going to be going to that PBR-JW matchup and the Zuyos Threat Level Midnight matchup that is going to have major implications as we get to the final 3 weeks of the regular season.
And we don't have a slide for this or anything like that, but keep in mind too that this is not just the first week of the playoffs, but the first week of the second tier playoffs. So if you don't make it into the playoffs, you're automatically in the second tier playoffs, so you still have something to race for the rest of the season. So we're throwing out money all over the place.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of opportunities, whether it be individual in the playoffs, individual out of the playoffs, the team side, and oh, by the way, you can still win money for doing well in the race itself. So, whole lot of options here for guys, and that competition level is still going to stay very, very high, even with more than half the field now being removed from the playoffs.
Yeah, and taking a look out there at the lineup, it looks like, so by the way, the white numbers, that's if they're already in the playoffs. The red numbers are if they're not in the playoffs. So nice and easy tonight. Michael Madden, one of our playoff drivers, will take the pole. Landon Cardulo, who is looking to be a playoff lucky dog, he is putting all the pressure on himself tonight. He will come up on the outside pole.
In row number 2, it's going to be our second of 2 champions in the top 3 joining Michael Madden. It'll be Brad Herman, our Season 2 champion. He'll be starting in 3rd. Michael Larch, last week's winner for the first time in SRN, will be starting in position number 4. It'll be Bo Tiffany, second out of those Lucky Dog contenders, starting in 5th, with Matt Greathouse, our regular season champion, starting in position 6.
Yeah, Trevor Williams for JW Racing, firmly in the playoffs coming into this thing. Let's see if he can get that thing back going around this mile and a half here. He'll start in 7th. Blair Holloman in 8th for Zuyos Racing. Then Lane Doyle, another playoff contender, in 9th position. Nathan Nixon looking to sneak in here tonight. He's going to start off in 10th. Nathan De La Rosa, he is not eligible for the playoff lucky dog. He's just kind of a fill-in driver for tonight, so he will start in 11th. And then Sean Jensick, who had the most wins coming into this thing, he will start in 12th. Lots and lots of racing to do here tonight. It is going to be an epic, epic race. So let's get down there to the track, and you can see they're all getting out of the pits there. And over on the left side of the screen, if their names are green, obviously they are in the playoffs already, and you'll see as we go through the playoffs how we'll change up the colors there to be sure that you understand who is firmly in, who's not in, and then who's kind of right there on the cut line. So we'll play around with that as we get to the playoffs. But for right now, pretty much everybody still has a shot at this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only, I believe, 2 drivers that are in the field that won't be eligible because they did not have enough starts out there. And I'm going to throw out a stat, and I'm going to kind of mention this because we normally go through our picks at this time. I never do this. I never take low-hanging fruit. But the last 2 races here at Texas, the pole sitter has won the race. I think that trend continues. I'm going to say Michael Madden wins this race tonight.
I love that pick, and actually, if you had not picked him, I would have picked him. He absolutely loves this track. But I'm going to go right next to him. I'm going to go Landon Cardulo. So we're kind of cheating. We're going to stay on the front row here, but Landon Cardulo is that pressure cooker. He is the guy that if you need one guy to win a race for all the marbles, I can't go against Landon Cardulo.
In a clutch position for a clutch driver, see if he can do it, but he's got 23 others trying to steal that lucky dog away as we get ready to go in Texas.
It is going to be a great race. This is one of those tracks where one of 2 things could happen. It could actually be a lot of cautions, or it could go flag to flag. And so we've seen it both ways here in the Truck Series. Let's see if we get a good race out of him tonight, but Michael Madden jumps out to the lead.
And this is one of those racetracks, asymmetrical out there. So some guys are going to be really good in one end of the track in turns 1 and 2. Some are going to be really good in 3 and 4. The ones that are going to be contending for the win, they figured out both ends of this racetrack. Turns 1 and 2, a lot wider, 80 feet wide, but it's a lot shallower of the banking, 20-degree banking, and you can see how wide that track is. But everybody going to want to filter down towards that bottom line there to try to make it work. 3 and 4, 24-degree banking, a little bit narrower, but a little bit more of a traditional feel that you're used to at a mile and a half.
Yeah, I mean, just a beautiful track, and that's why we always put it into the playoffs pretty much every single season. It's one of those tracks where no track is ever easy, but it's a track that a lot of people know how to get around here because they've driven it so much on the iRacing server. And so hopefully we see a lot more of that as we got Travis Burton.
Yeah, he just went through the grass. Yeah, he went through the grass coming off of turn number 4. Danny Dow also with an issue out there on the racetrack. He was the first one to get loose off of turn 4. He actually got it down onto pit road, so he might get a speeding penalty for an unsafe entry, but he was able to keep that truck clean, as did Travis Burton. I think this was reacting to the 2 truck going sideways, coming down pit road. You could see that starting up in front. Actually, he might have let off and got a little nudge there. I believe that was the 55 of Jeff No that caught him, sent him into the grass. But great truck control from both Burton and Dow to keep those trucks clean despite getting very loose off of turn 4.
Yeah, Dow is going to stay in the pits there for a bit. Probably deserved that penalty, or maybe he edited it out. I'm not really sure either way. But Burton's going to be way behind as these leaders still go at it. Michael Madden getting a little bit of a distance going on, but you got Michael Larch and Bo Tiffany, a couple of teammates going head-to-head here for second place.
And you know what? This is a very welcome sight right now if you're Bo Tiffany. You got a little bit of help there with a teammate right near you in Michael Larch. Tiffany is one of those 24 drivers eligible for that lucky dog, and the driver in front of him got his first win here in SRN a week ago at Michigan in that regular season finale. So a couple drivers that have had some good runs here. Bo Tiffany wasn't far off. I believe it was only just 1 point away from pointing his way into the top 15 in the playoffs. I know how that feels. Not a good feeling, but it definitely motivates you at a track like this, where Bo's been pretty good typically.
Yeah, so Bo up in the 3rd position, is currently in that playoff lucky dog spot. Landon Cardullo in 5th, just a couple spots behind him now in 4th. And so there's going to be a really good race for that. And don't look now, but Greg Olenek is already up 7 positions in this race. He is up to 8th place, so he is looking for that playoff lucky dog as well.
Yeah, by far the biggest mover here in the first 7 laps. There's going to be 6 laps of this race. He's gone from 15th place all the way up to 8th. There's only one other driver that has gained more than 5, and that's Jose Castellanos, who's moved from 16th up to the 10th position. But for the most part, no real big movers for out there, aside from a couple guys picking up a couple spots here and there. But those 2 absolutely ripping through the field.
Yeah, going the other direction, though. Going back, Sean Jensen, not sure what happened here, but he started off in 12th position. He's all the way down in 34th right now. So not sure if this is just a crazy strategy, and he's a lot better at strategizing than I am, obviously, but not really sure what happened here.
Well, I tell you what, looking at it, I don't think he liked where he started, because I'm looking at the log here in the driver chat. He was actually given an EOL penalty at the start of the race. So for that to happen, wow, we got one up in the wall.
And he might be stuck up in that wall. Yeah, he's going to have to take a tow there, and that is going to bring out our first caution of the race. Let's see if we can't go back and find out what happened to Jeff No here.
Man, all I know is that he has been one of the hardest luck drivers here all season long. We're going to take a look now. He's on the outside at Tyler Markle on the inside. No comes down.
Wow.
Just wedges.
That is an iRacing glitch from Hades.
Yeah, and that'll happen every now and then where you kind of catch the wall in a spot where just the physics don't really want to work. And, yeah, that's unfortunate there. And tell you what, it looked like he was trying to get down into that second groove, and Markle was kind of holding up a little bit higher than I think No anticipated. That, to me, it's probably going to get called on no because he moved down. To me, that's a racing incident, in my opinion. But again, as I always say, I'm not one of the admins, thankfully, so don't have to make that call.
Yeah, don't ever wish that on yourself. But we've got some pit stops early on, so it looks like Matt Greathouse will be one of those, one of our playoff drivers. Jose Castellanos, Austin Purnell, a lot of our playoff drivers actually. So about 50-50. Some of them stay out, some of them come in. But Michael Madden, who has led every lap of this race so far, is going to stay out there along with Michael Arch.
Yeah, it's a little interesting to see guys come down pit road right now, and maybe they're just thinking get a little bit off cycle to see if that kind of pans out, maybe banking on some longer runs out here after this one gets restarted. But at this point, 85 laps to go. They're still 2 stops away from getting to the end of this race, and that's kind of what's thrown me off for a little bit of a loop in what they're trying to do. And to kind of touch back on a couple other things from that first little run also, Sean Jensick, it sounds like he was having some connection issues, and so he requested an EOL to go back. That's the tone that I got from a couple questions I heard on the driver chat when that caution came out. The other one, Danny Dowd, did have that penalty, did serve it. He actually waited at the end of pit road, it looked like, to let the pack go by a second time instead of coming out right in front of him, but he did get the lucky dog to get one of those 2 laps back.
Yeah, so he'll be 1 lap down coming out here. So another caution comes out, he'll be the first one to jump back up on that lead lap. So I don't think he's going to be in too much trouble here. This is one of those tracks where it can get awfully racy, and so we may see another couple cautions. We'll find out.
Yeah, I think with the way that the intensity is going to be ramped up in this race, you got so many guys with so much to race for out there. I think this is going to be one of those races that kind of buck that trend a little bit of what you kind of expect with low cautions out here. I think there's just going to be enough guys with that intensity just ramped up just enough that I think we're going to see more than we're used to at Texas.
Yeah, you were telling me last season we were here at Texas, this was the connection issue race where iRacing had a glitch and knocked about half of our guys out, and really caused some havoc for the playoff standings, for everything else. So hopefully iRacing has their stuff under control. Although I know a little bit earlier you were saying that both Twitter and
Twitter and YouTube
were both not working. So who knows what's going to happen here tonight?
Yeah, it's something about the truck races at Texas seem to just throw the internet all for a loop here. But I mean that, and one of the things that I know has changed since then. This is why on those build weeks we do have the bye week now, because that was, if I recall correctly, that was one of the build weeks there, and all those connection issues started kind of snapping on everybody. So always trying to kind of think about things, but that was not one that we anticipated. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was certainly an interesting night, but looks like we got 1 to green here. You chose Michael Madden up at the very front. I chose Landon Cardulo. Michael Madden is one of those drivers that, man, he can make that truck really wide. It is so hard to pass him once he's in front of you.
It absolutely is, especially on these 1.5 miles. He just has it down, and it's a big reason why he is the defending Truck Series champion. I think that kind of gets lost a little bit this season because he did miss a couple races, and it kind of held him back in the point standings to a place where he's really been quiet all season long, even though he has the most top 10s in the series with 8, even with a reduced schedule. It's just that we just never really talked about him a whole lot because the point standings just weren't there. But now we get to the playoffs. They reset everything. He's sitting there, just behind that cut line because he had fewer races. But I mean, this is the time of year that Michael Madden really starts to come alive, and that's why he's been a championship contender now for 4 straight seasons.
We were talking about Scott Healy getting the playoff lucky dog last night in the Cup Series, and what Michael is doing right now is reminding me of Speed Racing Network Season 1, when Scott Healy really didn't have that many good finishes throughout the season, but he got into the playoffs and then got a hot streak and then ended up winning the whole dang thing. So that's what Michael Madden's looking to do here.
It's just like in hockey. You always look for who's got the hot goalie at the right time of year. Right now, I mean, Michael Madden, 8 top 10s and an 11-race run. He's got the hot hand right now, and he's leading this thing at the very start.
And he will take off, and he had Michael Arch out to his outside, Bo Tiffany on the inside. So Bo is going to take that second position away from his teammate, and he's going to hope that his teammate can hold off Landon Cardulo.
Yeah, nice position right here for Bo Tiffany. He's got Brad Herman there. Larch unable to make that outside line stick well enough, and so that will open up that position for Landon Cardulo, but he's having to hold off his teammate right now, Nathan De La Rosa. Remember, De La Rosa, one of the couple drivers here that aren't in the playoffs that also aren't eligible for the Lucky Dog, as this is only his second race of the season here in the trucks.
You know, a lot of people could see that as a disadvantage. I see it as an advantage because he doesn't have to have that pressure on him. He can just drive loose and get the best finish that he can possibly get out there. He has nothing to lose out there.
No, absolutely, and you know that's one of those things. Whether you're a little bit farther back in the playoffs or you have a bad race to start with, that's the most dangerous driver. It's the one that you least expect. And for Nathan, like you said, there's zero pressure out there on Nathan right now. There's about 37 or 36 other drivers that have all the pressure in the world on them here in this race tonight.
Back up front, Michael Madden doing the same thing that he did that first run, just getting a little bit of a lead there. But going back to Matt Greathouse, he is the first one that pitted, and he has already made up 2 more spots on the track. So he's up to the 16th position on fresh tires.
Yeah, and this track will wear out tires pretty quickly, and we're looking at about, the top 20 or so stayed out on that restart. So there's going to be some guys that start ripping through the field here. The trouble I have with it is if this race stays green the rest of the way, there's not a huge advantage at this point because you're looking at about 10 laps of green flag run there at the start. There's going to be a difference, but it's going to level out somewhat quickly here. So, I mean, they're going to gain positions. I just don't know if it's going to be a big net gain or if they're going to kind of hold serve.
It's going to take a long green flag run to figure out what's actually going to happen on that, and just to see where all these pit stops shake out, and maybe they just have a better calculator than we do as far as and somebody got to do the wall back there, but maybe they have a better calculator than we do as far as fuel mileage, but it didn't make sense to us when it first happened.
Yeah, it's one of those, I'm not going to call it a head scratcher. It's one of those, I need to see this one play out. It kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop just because 10 laps in, I just don't know. The only thing I kept thinking of is maybe they're thinking there's a few more cautions and they might be able to stretch the fuel to one more stop and get that one out of the way. That's kind of the one main thing that's been sticking in my head.
Back up a little bit. Let's take a look at Trevor Williams here up in 7th position. That's exactly where he started. So just kind of holding serve right now. But, this is one of those things in the playoffs here, especially with this being the first round of the very first race of the playoffs, where seventh place finish would not be a bad deal for him at all. All you really have to do is finish in the top 10 of those playoff drivers each race, and you're into the next round for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, hey, easier said than done, of course, but I think it's twofold for Trevor right now. I think a 7th place finish, that's exactly where he needs to be, especially when he's running 4th out of the playoff 15 right now. It would be 5th out of the playoff 16 by the end of this race, the way it's running right now. But for him, I think the bigger thing is he has just had some bad luck the past month of this season. He had 7 of his first 7 starts of the season. He was inside the top 20. The last 6 races, once he's been inside the top 20. Off the top of my head, I want to say 4 of those 5 things that were not his doing, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He needs a big turnaround run here, and this is a great start for him.
Yeah, he just needs to start building on that momentum. If he can just get one good race under his belt, then I have a feeling that we're going to see him a lot in these playoffs as he gets way to the outside there of the 66 of Nathan De La Rosa.
Yeah, that's one of the tricky parts of turns 1 and 2. You feel like you can make that outside stick, especially in these trucks, where you get a little bit more downforce, but that inside line has so much more grip. It just fits that truck so perfectly, and then you get a little bit high, especially if you start down in that inside groove and then drift up. It just chases you up the racetrack, and before you know it, you're right up by that wall.
So we stay in that 7th position for the time being. Up ahead of him, Brad Herman and Blair Holloman, a couple teammates, they are pushing and shoving each other bumper to bumper. And always fun to kind of see that between teammates as long as nothing happens. You don't want to be in the middle of that team chat.
No, it's always awkward right there. It's just one of those things where you're just like, man, let's go, and then you're just kind of like, I can't really go right now. It's in this point. You got guys that are running different speeds too. Like I look at Brad Herman and Blair Holloman, they typically run two completely different styles around that racetrack. So it's I normally look at Blair being a little bit more of the aggressor, trying to make the high line work. He's been a little bit more conservative here in this race, still +4. Brad Herman, he's typically the long run guy. Let this race play out, but he's being a little bit of the aggressor right now with Bo Tiffany shoving him into turn 1.
Well, look, all these playoff drivers should take a lesson from the playoff driver last year, Ryan Johnson, who, by the way, is doing incredible in the Cup Series this season. But remember, Ryan went for the win instead of just hanging in the second position of a race. He ended up getting into a wreck and completely getting ousted out of the playoffs because of it. So this is not a one-race deal. This is not the race that you want to win if you have to take the risk to do it.
Yeah, you always have to think big picture in these positions, especially in the first race, especially if you're not confident going into a road course in race number 2, which is what we got coming up at Mid-Ohio in 2 weeks' time. So you're got to be sitting there thinking, you know what, if I'm not good on a road course, I need to make sure that this is a solid finish, and I definitely have to be thinking big picture here because you can't just throw away the race trying to pick up one extra position as bad as you might want to.
Dropping back to take a look at Kyle Speeds here. He was up 10 positions, and then all of a sudden he just lost 4 positions back to back to back to back. So kind of getting freight trained right now. Now, he was one of those that did not pit, so he has those older tires, and he's starting to drop like a rock.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the tires or if he just got out of the groove or what. I know a few of those trucks that got by him. I mean, you're looking at Greathouse, Olenek, and Castellanos. They all came down that last time. So I think it was just a combination. Maybe he got a little out of the groove and just could not get it back in line just because he, like you said, he was getting freight trained there, which is easy to do here if you get out of the line. 3 wide coming out of 2.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a risky proposition. Plenty of room there, but a lot of times you can't corner coming off that turn. So good job for them keeping that clean there. But yeah, Kyle Speeds is a big-time momentum driver. He is a very rhythm driver where he's got to be in that groove. If he's not in that groove, he's going to fall backwards. And just like that, he's gone from he was up in 11th position all the way back to 18th. So he's got to get that groove back again. But I know that he's one of those drivers that can do that.
Yeah, just gotta take a lap, kind of settle back in, and get those tires a little bit less angry. Maybe get the emotions a little bit less angry there. When you start falling back, it's really easy to kind of get a little bit on yourself there, and just kind of settle back into the race. That's something Kyle's always been really good at. I always kind of look at him as one of a handful of drivers that I think are the best when it comes to the long run, where all of a sudden you just look and they've picked up 10, 15 spots from where they were early on in the run. So maybe just trying to get a little bit out of that element and trying to get out in front of things and maybe overusing the tires a little bit or maybe just getting caught up in a bad spot there. But either way, definitely time to kind of reconnect things and get back on the move forward.
You said reconnect. It reminded me of Sean Jensen, who had a bad connection to start off with, and now here he is up in 16th position. So has gained all those positions back. How do you like that for a second?
Man, that's a professional move right there, that's for sure. But nice dive to the inside here for Jensen. He's going to slide up in front of Corey Stahl in that 33 truck. And Corey, another one of the guys really falling back here. That tire play on those early pit stops might be working out, but again, I think they need some cautions to make that strategy work. And if a caution came out right now, I think everybody's going to come down pit road anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of have to, especially 32 laps into this race. But up front, I know we haven't talked about him for a little while because he's just kind of been sitting there leading laps. But Michael Madden out front by almost a second, by about 0.8 of a second here. And he's just trying to maintain that lead. But I've seen that Brad Herman has kind of been inching closer and closer over the last few laps.
Yeah, Brad got out of that little bit of a battle there that he was having with Bo Tiffany and kind of just starting to inch towards Michael Madden a little bit. And he's going to get a pull, especially down those straightaways, because he is within reason now. And you can just see it there, just bit by bit, a nice little jump there on lap number 30 and 31. So maybe Michael's starting to lose a little bit of the tires there, just kind of pushing to get back out in front. Maybe just managing that gap a little bit as well, knowing that we're getting pretty close to these pit stops.
Yeah, especially as we get closer to pit stop time under the green flag. It's a question as to, do you want to be the first person into the pits if you're the leader, or do you want to wait a couple of laps and see what happens?
Yeah, and especially at a track like this one, just the pit entry, it's not terrible, but it's not easy. The pit exit, you can get in trouble pretty easily as well. So I don't know if you necessarily want to be the first one to be a taker on these pit stops, just because we've seen it happen here in the Truck Series as of late, where these pit stops have really been a difference maker and brought out some cautions just because of how difficult it can be to get that momentum back out when you're coming back out onto the racetrack. You can see it here, how narrow this apron is compared to that racetrack. It's about 80 feet of racetrack, and then you got about 15 feet to make that apron stick. So it's a tight exit that might catch some people. So you might want to wait a little bit and see if anybody makes it through that first couple laps or so.
Well, just a quick update on where we're at as far as the playoff Lucky Dog is concerned. Lennon Cardulo up in 4th place, but he is trying to get tracked down here by Greg Olynyk in that beautiful Texas scheme. He is going to be up in 5th place, so he's about a second behind Lennon. So he's still got some room to get there, but also Greg is one of the biggest movers of the race, so definitely getting it going around here in Texas.
Yeah, he's been on a tear. He restarted in 21st place after that caution came out. Again, he was one of the ones that pitted. So when we see everybody come down pit road, probably in the next couple laps, to be honest, these guys are going to be able to stay out another 10 or 12 laps compared to these next pit stops that I think we're going to be seeing that around lap 38. These guys are going to have to start to make their way down.
Yeah, you can see Olynyk getting closer to Blair Holloman in 4th place, but then in front of Blair Holloman is Landon Cardulo. So Landon just trying to hold serve as much as he possibly can as we get into these pit stops for sure.
We got behind him Greathouse making his move around Nathan De La Rosa, so another one of those guys on fresher tires. At this point, it's hard to say fresh tires, but fresher tires, making his way through the field. He's now up to P6 for the regular season champion, and don't look now, but I was about to say something else, but we got pit stops starting with Trevor Williams.
Yeah, Trevor Williams, the first one down pit road all by his lonesome, so we'll see how that works out for him. He was about in the 7th position when he pitted, maybe the 8th position, but he will be the first one on this cycle. We'll see if anybody follows suit, but right now Brad Herman has caught Michael Madden, and he is going to dive down to the inside and try to take this first position away from him the first time this race.
It's tough, especially on that inside line, having to hold it down. Outside line, tough to maintain. Oh, wow, Lane Doyle. I heard him saying he was about ready to come down pit road. I think he just overshot pit entry here, and that's going to be a huge hit to that 47 truck.
Let's see what happened here, because he was down on the inside. I think you're right. I think he may have just completely... Oh, no, he got tagged from behind. Was that the 99?
That was Wally Babb. Yeah, Wally Babb in the 99.
Yeah, he puts it into the grass, but I don't think he ever hit that commitment cone, so I think he may be okay there.
Yeah, but he's going to have some damage. He's going to lose a ton of track position, a lot of time, as all these pit stops starting, and that's going to cost him a good 20 seconds or so. But everybody's starting to make their way down pit road out of this group that stayed out on that first caution.
Yeah, but Brad Herman will stay out. Oh, Michael Madden coming down pit road, so our leader will give up the lead, come on down pit road, get those 4 fresh tires, and Brad Herman will get a bonus point just for leading that one.
And very quickly, this is going to cycle over to Greg Olynyk being the leader. And also keep in mind, Blair Holloman might try to stay out, though he is getting passed by Olenek. Landon Cardulo, I mean, it's going to be good to get the lead, and I think he might be coming in this time, actually, with how low he was kind of running. Yep, there he goes. So he was taking that inside line to get onto pit road. I was about to say, it's not going to do him any good to lead a lap here in this race, as it's just the first Lucky Dog driver across that finish line, but now I see what he was going for.
Right, now once we get that playoff Lucky Dog, that playoff Lucky Dog will get the bonus points that he accrued during the season for lead laps and all that stuff. So it isn't a bad idea for Landon to lead a lap if Landon is the playoff Lucky Dog, or for Greg to lead a lap if he is the playoff Lucky Dog, because he'll get that bonus point going into the playoffs. However, do you risk your race to get that bonus point? Probably not.
Yeah, and we saw that last night in the Cup Series race. There were a couple guys in Lucky Dog contention that stayed out a little bit longer, and they wound up leading, but it didn't really pan out in the end. So I think there's got to be that point of kind of sitting there thinking, all right, what's worth the squeeze on this one, that you really try to get out there. And yes, you do want that bonus point, but you also got to get into the playoffs to use those bonus points.
So Greg Olenek all the way back to 13th place, Derek Da Silva, all pitted on lap 9. So we've still got a good 6 or 7 more laps here before they are probably going to consider coming in. And if I learned anything from Jonathan Byer a couple of seasons ago, it is wait as long as you can before you pit.
Yeah, and honestly, these guys right now, what they need ideally is a caution right now. Yeah, because then they can come down, they'll stay out in front. Everybody else that's a lap down from Michael Madden on back, they'll get the wave around, but they're going to be behind these guys. And Greg Olenek going to come down already. This is way sooner than I was anticipating. Andrew Harris nearly losing it in front of Jose Castellanos, who keeps it straight.
So only 3 drivers taking the pit road right now, but Matthew Greathouse will end up with the lead, and he'll get that all-important bonus point as he is in the playoffs already, so every single point there matters.
Yeah, and then next in line behind him, a name we haven't really mentioned tonight thus far, but he's been in contention in that top 10 in that Lucky Dog race all night long. Nathan Nixon going to take the lead now. He'll get that bonus point, which, again, if he gets that Lucky Dog, that'll go for good use. But he's got to get there first, but he's been a contender all night long.
Man, I just love how there's so many contenders for this playoff Lucky Dog. I mean, looking at that list of 24 drivers, there are 15 of them maybe that are those drivers that I'm like, man, I would not want to see them in the playoffs.
And honestly, I'm looking at this field right now, and you still got Michael Madden a lap down. A caution comes out. All of a sudden, you're looking at flipping the script here, and a Tyler Markle, a Jason Kratke, Connor Cunningham, not eligible, actually, not enough starts, but a John Holiday, a Derek Da Silva, Troy Techmeyer. Those names all of a sudden get thrown up into the front of the field. So this thing's still wide open right now.
Jose Ruiz will get to lead the lap, as you see Landon Cardulo getting his lap back the hard way, as well as Brad Herman. And so they will get around the leader, but yeah, 6 trucks still have not pitted. So Jose Ruiz, Tyler Markle, Lucas Lyons, Connor Cunningham, Jason Kratke, and Derek Da Silva. So 6 drivers kind of rolling the dice here. It's not Las Vegas, but they can still roll the dice.
All right, that's the goal for everybody, is to get to Las Vegas for that SRN Championship week, where all 3 series will be in Vegas to determine our champions. But and you pointed out, getting that lap back the hard way was Landon Cardulo and Brad Herman and a couple of guys now. It was Kyle Speed's going to be the next one, Blair Holloman. This is huge for them, because if a caution did come out, they're back on the lead lap already. Naturally, they won't have to worry about a wave around. Everybody pits, they stay out, they cycle to the front of the field.
Jose Ruiz staying out as long as he possibly can. None of these other top 6 have decided to drop into pit road just yet, but I anticipate that coming here next lap, maybe 2 at the most.
And honestly, if I'm Tyler Markle, Jason Kratke, Derek Da Silva, I'm staying out there as long as that fuel tank lets me, to hope that a caution comes out, to hope that I can gain some spots and get a big jump up into that top 10. They've got nothing else to fight for aside from that Lucky Dog. You got to take some home run cuts. We've been sitting mid-pack for much of this race.
Jose Ruiz is one of those playoff drivers, so he doesn't really have to take that home run swing right now. But he was just trying to get every single thing he could get out of his truck. Maybe possibly to stretch this because a lot of these cars trucks went 41 laps.
Oh, it's tight. It's super tight. I mean, you're looking at about 40 laps at most of those guys, and that's with the pit stop, with the caution in there as well. So really, you're looking at about 38 laps or so. I don't know if you can stretch it this far. He's going to have to go at least 42 laps, I'm thinking, by the time he comes in, which is probably going to be in the next couple laps, if not this time.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect time for him. He's going to have one truck get around him. Yeah, he's going to have one truck get around him here pretty easily, I believe, and then he's going to have a free road to get down there. So this would be the perfect time to take that pit stop so he can get a good, clean entry, and he will.
Yeah, I didn't quite hear him on the radio. He might have, and I just didn't hear it, but that was the good visual cue right there. If I'm coming this time by diving way down to the inside on that back straightaway, making it very well known that you're going to be making that pit stop. Lucas Lyons is going to be the other one coming down pit road this time. So 2 playoff drivers going to be the last 2 to make this second pit stop of the night for that group.
And that cycles it right back to Michael Madden. He's no longer stacking pennies. He is now stacking those gold dollars.
He is, but how about the big jump here for Trevor Williams? First one down pit road, so he got the undercut in there by about 3 laps on most everybody out here in this lead pack, but he jumps all the way up to the second position. Now that is going to turn on him pretty quickly here, probably in the next 5 or so laps. He's going to start losing a little bit more time to those guys that stayed out a little bit longer, but it's not going to be a drastic fall off, just might be enough, but I think really he made a move that might be a net win, where he's going to pick up a couple spots from where he was.
Yeah, and this track has spread out a ton because of those pit stops. Trucks absolutely everywhere on the track. So Madden and Trevor Williams are going to have to deal with some lap traffic not too long from now. So be aware of that as well.
Yeah, so that's going to be something, and you can see it on that track map right there. We got a whole bunch of red and a whole bunch of white out there. As there's all kinds of stuff going on out there. And actually, that was the playoff numbers that I'm thinking of. I thought that was the lap traffic, and then I saw the positions on there. But yeah, you can see it in front of that one that's coming out of turn number 2 right now on that track map. 3 lap trucks not far ahead. So they're going to be dealing with them pretty quickly. And speaking of dealing, moving up to position number 2, lucky dog leader Landon Cardulo. He's going to get around Trevor Williams.
So he is going to try to stay in that spot while Bo Tiffany is only a second and a half behind Landon. So Bo Tiffany is the next one to find that playoff.
Yeah, it's really looking like a 3-horse race right now for that lucky dog, but still plenty of time to go. Still got 42 laps left to determine this thing, but it seems like for much of this race, it's been Cardulo, Tiffany, and Olenek that we're seeing. Andrew Harris, we saw Nathan Nixon, a couple guys kind of poking their head into this battle as well. So I'm not going to say it's only 3 guys. These have been the 3 ones that have been kind of the most consistently up front here tonight.
Out of those 3, Greg Olenek pitted on lap 43. The other 2 pitted on lap 40 and 37 respectively. So Greg Olenek's going to have the freshest tires to see if he can make those work for him here in the next 10 to 15 laps.
Yeah, and that's a tough call. And all those guys that pitted on that first caution, they had to put themselves in a difficult position right there. They could have stayed out and really taken more advantage of fresher tires here by kind of running maybe 5 or 6 more laps than they did and really stretching it out. It would have hurt them heavily on the front end, but they would have been a lot faster on the back end. But you also can't trust that, what the situation's going to be. You can't predict the future on that one. So it was a really difficult spot that they put themselves in. So you're not going to see a huge gain unless there's a little bit more free space there if you're an Olenek or Harris that came in a little bit later.
We are barreling towards 30 to go-ish, so we're right now at 39 to go. But Brandon, I'm going to put you up on the pit box right now. If you're one of these playoff lucky dog contenders and we get down to 10 laps to go and you're running out of fuel, do you come in and take 2 tires?
I want to know who's practiced 2 tires at that kind of length of a run right there. You obviously have to take at least 2. It is going to be a handful to deal with, though, at that point. If you've practiced it, if you're comfortable, if you know what's going to happen, I would go for it if you need to take a big cut. If you've got a little bit of an advantage, say that pit stop happens right now, you got that 3-second gap right now from Cardulo to Olenek, if I'm Landon, I take 4 tires. You're going to lose about 5 seconds if Olenek does take 2, but you're going to be a lot faster for those 10 laps.
We're going to have some fun with that question if this thing stays green, which they've done a very good job. So just one caution so far this race, knock on wood, but really has been a great race all the way around.
And honestly, right now, caution comes out. Everybody can make it the rest of the way on one last pit stop from here. So that window open no matter what, or at least to the advertised distance, I should say, of 95 laps. I'm not going to include any overtimes there. But right now, that window open. So this really draws, I think, the bigger question. You're saying with 10 to go, what happens when fuel starts running out? I think who's the one that's going to play the undercut and try to really pick up a lot of speed on the front end and take a risk that a caution doesn't come out after they make that stop.
It's definitely going to be interesting. But take a look at this time delta. This is between Landon Cardullo and Greg Olenek. So they are the top 2 in that playoff lucky dog spot. And you can see that Greg is catching up slowly but surely. He's catching up to Cardullo, which will make this a very, very interesting last 10 laps or so if we get to that pit stop.
And one thing you're going to see here is that is going to be even more of a interval cut right now, because Michael Madden is not going to just let Landon Cardullo go. They're going to be fighting for this lead position, and every little bit that you fight, when that truck that you're racing against has a little bit more clean air, a lot less to fight against right now, he's going to pick up even more time. So a little bit fresher tires, a little bit less intensity going around him that might put him out of line a little bit or slow him up. That's going to be a huge advantage for Olenek right now, though Cardullo, obviously, where's the best place to be on the racetrack? Out in front. So I think between these two, they're really putting on a show. I wouldn't count out Andrew Harris right now either. He's charging towards the front right now, gained about a second on the lead in the past handful of laps.
Yeah, Michael Madden does not like to lose, and so he is not going to hand that position over for anything. You are going to have to earn it the entire way while that's going on. Greg Olenek is just licking his chops.
And one name that I just saw come across my screen and seeing a replay as we got side-by-side racing, we nearly had a caution just a moment ago. Michael Larch got sideways out of turn 4. He saved it, kept that thing straight, so we stay green, and that's a welcome sight to Landon Cardullo as he makes the move to the inside.
Wow, how interesting would it be if not only do you get the playoff lucky dog, but you get the win, all those bonus points, all the big points for that first race of the playoffs, all of that. I think that Landon might jump into that inside the cut.
I mean, hey, we saw Scott Healy do it with a 3rd place last night, that he was able to make that gap up. And I believe, and I might be off on this, I want to say it was Drew Ballesteros that did similar, winning the Lucky Dog race as a Lucky Dog contender. I might be a little bit off on that, but I do think this has happened before, where you get all that pressure on you and it just makes you shine like a diamond. You get out there and get the checker flag.
Or you could crumble. And that's what I was saying earlier when I think Cardullo he is not the type to crumble under pressure. He is a pressure racer. And so, man, our 2 picks are going at it.
They really are, which could be really good or could go really bad the way they're fighting each other right now. Look at that shove into turn 1 there from Madden to Cardullo. And as this is going, Herman, Olenek, Harris, they're all still closing in just bit by bit on these 2.
Oh, and Seth Reed corrected you out there. It was James Shane Wolf.
Shane Wolf. I had the right team.
Yes.
Had the right team.
Yeah. So, James Shane Wolf won that race, got into the playoffs, and yeah, did fairly well, actually.
Yeah, you get all that momentum. Oh, one thing to keep in mind. Here we go. Oh, I'm just saying, pit stop's about to start. He caught it right as I was saying it. Olenek, Harris, and Williams all down pit road. So Olenek in the group and Harris as well. 2 of the last ones to make a pit stop last time through. They're going to take the big swing at an undercut here with 29 laps to go.
Oh, I mean, this is brilliant because if it stays green, they are going to have the advantage. And so, yeah, Greg Olenek taking a swing for the fence while Landon Cardullo still out there, and he's going to come around another lap. So if we're talking a couple tenths of a second per lap, they're just making that up.
So Matt Greathouse down pit road this time. He's going to give up a top 10 spot as well. But if I'm landing Cardullo, now this is where I was talking about the difficult position that you're in and that last pit stop for the guys that pitted under the first caution. For him right now, it's, all right, do I want to stay out here? Do I want to give up this time right now to have the stronger run at the end of this race? Or maybe a caution comes out before I have to make this pit stop. There's a whole lot that's going through that mind of the driver in that 13 truck right now, Landon Cardullo. Michael Madden, he's already in the playoffs, so there's a lot of pressure there as they go side by side again for the race lead. That was another shove into turn one, a power move here from Madden.
I told you, Madden's not going to let him go, and that's Madden just loves to
fresh
get
tires
out there.
Coming up behind
to race.
Yeah, and you got fresh tires on a lap truck coming up behind them, so this might throw up this little bit of a wedge here, as I believe that's Wally Babb in the 99 that's going to be coming up, and Travis Burton on fresh tires as well. This might shake it up a little bit, maybe get these leaders a little uncomfortable. Ooh, I thought for a second we might have seen 3 wide there.
Yeah, but he's actually going to push Michael Madden out into the outright lead. And then Bab's going to go down to the inside. He's going to get a good position here. Maybe not.
Madden trying to block him a little bit here, trying to keep that inside line. He does not want to get to that high line because he knows if he goes high, Bab goes low. That's going to open up the window for Cardullo to follow Bab to that inside line and get, we talked about it earlier, you can get freight train pretty easily on the outside here at Texas. Madden wanted none of that.
Yeah, so Madden's going to make him work for it, and the first rule of racing that we learned is make the other guy pass you, and that's exactly what Michael Madden just did.
And he has every single reason to be doing that, especially with people that are trying to get their lap back naturally. So you got to make them earn that spot cleanly in the process, especially when you're racing somebody else. And you can see what this has done. Look at the gap now to Cardullo, and also look at that gap to Herman, who's now closed in about a second away from Michael Madden.
No, I see what Cardullo's doing right now. He is saving fuel. I think that's what's going on here.
I'm not sure. I don't know. He's still not going to be able to make it the rest of the way. He might be hoping that he just traps people a lap down by the time he pits, but we're asking a whole lot for him to stretch that about 6 or 7 laps, I think, from what we're anticipating on this run remaining to the line. I don't know about that. I think he might have just got caught at a bad point there by getting passed by Burton.
Yeah, I keep looking at the delta time between him and Michael Madden, and Cardullo's starting to catch back up again. So for a while there, I thought he might be just trying to save fuel to really push that long run. But no, I don't think he's going to do that.
And one thing to keep in mind right now, the top 20 drivers all still staying out here as we come down to 23 laps to go this time by. They're all still going to have to pit one more time to get to the end. 21st place. First one after these pit stops is currently going to be, it's going to be 19th now as we've got pit stops underway for a couple more trucks. It's going to be Andrew Harris going to be leading this race once it cycles through, as far as those that have already made their pit stop.
Yeah, Andrew Harris actually out-pitted Greg Olenek by about 0.8 of a second in the pit box. So not sure how he did that, but he did. So
and that's honestly 0.8 of a second. That tells me he took a little bit less than a little bit less fuel than Greg Olenek did. So Olenek might have gone for the full tank, thinking maybe there's going to be some overtime here. Maybe we're going to see a little bit of an extended finish, or maybe he just wasn't sure on the calculation and played it safe. Might be seeing a big aggressive swing on the fuel mileage there for Andrew Harris, taking a little bit less fuel. We got the 2 leaders coming down pit road. Make it 3. No, yeah.
Oh, Cardullo.
That is a huge save there for Cardullo. He's going to lose a little bit of time, but that truck stays clean.
Bo Tiffany will assume the lead. Assume the lead. Yeah, assume the lead. That's what he's doing, I swear.
Well, he's going to have it for about another second here, because here comes Sean Jensick on much fresher tires to the inside. And that makes me wonder if Bo Tiffany was maybe trying to come down pit road this time, because he was trying to keep that thing low. See if that's the case, that or he just wasn't comfortable drifting that thing up. Yeah, here he comes.
So he will dive into pit road. Sean Jensick will get that all-important lap lead, and after the rocky start that he had to this race, taking the EOL very first lap. He is back up in the lead.
And look who he just went by right there. So Michael Madden going to be falling behind him, and I'm trying to watch where some of these guys are and where everybody's cycling out, and it should be Andrew Harris by about 1.2 seconds. Should be picking up the race lead.
Yep, Greg Olenek, 1.15 behind Andrew Harris right now. So he has got some work to do as Andrew Harris is in that playoff lucky dog position once these things cycle out. And so while Greg was fighting off Landon Cardulo the entire time, he forgot about Andrew Harris.
Well, and here's two things. Landon Cardulo on about 10 lap fresher tires is going to be 10 seconds behind Andrew Harris. That'll be for the lucky dog lead once Markle and Cunningham pit. But the other thing, you mentioned team communications and how awkward that can be sometimes. What do you think it's going through Andrew Harris and Greg Olenek on the team chat right now as PBR teammates 1-2 for the lucky dog, 1-2 should be cycling out shortly for the race lead. Whole lot going on right there, and they've got everything to be racing for right now.
I'm just wondering what Greg is offering him right now. Hey man, if we play fantasy football next year, I'll give you the number one pick.
There's all kinds of trades. Andrew Harris trying to throw some things out there, but at this point, I would imagine that is probably the quietest team chat right now because there is nothing but focus going on right there. You think about, you got Andrew Harris, you got Greg Olenek, they're fighting for the lucky dog. Matt Greathouse, Jose Castellanos, they're running 6th and 7th right now. So you got 4 team trucks all going to run in the top 5 once Markle and Cunningham do make their final pit stop. Man, there's a whole lot going on there in that chat.
Take a look at Landon Cardulo and his time compared to Andrew Harris. Cardulo is catching up by about 0.7 a second per lap.
Yep.
Is that enough?
It absolutely is. And I'm looking at this. It wasn't long ago we were talking about a 10-second gap. That was about 3 laps ago. Right now, 8 seconds the gap back from Andrew Harris to Landon Cardulo. He is on a tear right now. That is going to equalize a little bit at some point, but he's going to at least have a shot at this thing and still have a little bit more life in those tires to be making passes by the time he catches them. If this thing stays green, I would not count out that 13 truck one bit.
Let me throw in one more wrench at you. Tyler Markle still has not pitted. He last pitted on lap 49. And so it would have to be a 46-lap run.
I think if you could tell he's really saving fuel right now. That or he was way loose and just could not get a handle on that thing. He is way out of it early. I mean, here's the thing. I don't even think if he's saving fuel, I don't think he can stretch it far enough. If he could, I think it's going to lose so much pace. You're looking at best a 5th place, 6th place finish, probably farther back than that. I just don't think he can hang on with the pace difference. I mean, you're already seeing Harris pick up a 2nd this lap alone. I just don't see it there. I think this is a net play, hoping for a caution and everybody to come down.
And everybody really would have to come down, because if Markle and Cunningham are going to come down, well, I don't know, because if Markle and Cunningham are the only 2 to come down, then they're going to be trapped behind 35 cars.
Well, and I think at this point, everybody, I believe, would come down pit road. A, to get some fuel in case this thing does go to overtime. B, just to get fresh tires, because everybody's been at least 10, 15 laps on these tires, if not more than that. This track does wear out those tires enough that you'll want that grip here in the final shootout.
Ooh, man, this is why I love Week 14 every single season. I mean, so many storylines going on. It is just a really, really fun race to watch. But Tyler Markle leading this thing by 4.5 seconds over Connor Cunningham. Remember, Connor Cunningham is not eligible for the playoff lucky dog. But the guy right behind him is Andrew Harris. He's 7 seconds behind Connor Cunningham and 12 seconds behind Tyler Markle. So he's still got a lot of catching up to do.
This group, everybody from 3rd back is about a second a lap faster, if not a little bit more than Tyler Markle. So by the time we get to the end of this race, even if Markle could make it the distance, which I highly doubt, he's still going to get caught by Andrew Harris, Greg Olenek, maybe Michael Madden, Brad Herman in that group there. That's all within a second as well. But the other story I'm keeping in mind right now, we are now 4.5 seconds the gap from Landon Cardulo to Andrew Harris for that lucky dog lead. That 13 truck is a part of a pack that is absolutely flying towards that 87 right now.
But then look at the 31 of Greg Olenek. He has closed the gap between him and Andrew Harris from about 1.7 seconds, I believe it was. Actually, 1.2 seconds down to half of that, 0.6 of a second. So Greg Olenek, even though he pitted on the same lap as Andrew Harris, is catching him.
And this has always been a really good racetrack for Greg, but either way, I'm looking at this pylon, 10 laps to go. I think if you're first, second, third, or fourth, there's one thing you're wanting, and I think it's a yellow flag between now and the end of this race. Get everybody on the same page. Probably everybody, if it's soon enough, will come down pit road, get some fresh tires, and it's going to equalize this field out. But I don't think that these two, as much as I'll be biased here as a PBR driver, as much as I'd love to see one of these two get it, I think that 13 truck's looking way too good right now.
Yeah, he is flying towards the front. He's going to pass Travis Burton here and continue that path forward. You can see it's not much of a gap. You kind of saw Greg Olenek into that corner as Landon Cardulo was coming off of that stretch there on the front stretch. So it is not very far away from, man, 9 laps to go. This is about to get fun. Tyler Markle coming into the pits.
Yeah.
So,
and I think Connor Cunningham might have been starting to lose some fuel, or maybe he's still stretching it but got real loose there. That might be the other thing. But he fell back about 3 seconds towards Andrew Harris that last lap. So Andrew Harris going to pick up the lead here with 8 laps to go. Greg Olenek going to be 0.4 of a second back as he gets around Connor Cunningham. He's going to catch him at a little bit more awkward of a spot. But oh, by the way, here comes the pack on fresher tires right behind these two leaders, Madden, Herman, Cardulo. They're all within a second now.
8 laps to go, and it cannot get any hotter in Texas. It is going absolutely crazy. Andrew Harris and Greg Olenek about half a second apart. Landon Cardulo 2 seconds behind. Actually, 1.6 seconds behind Andrew Harris, so he is going to join the party here shortly. Then you got Michael Madden, Brad Herman looking for wins here as well. Oh my gosh, and Tyler Markle coming off the pit road.
Oh, man, and I think Markle might have lifted there. He had a little bit of momentum there. I think he kind of backed out. He read the room, but that's going to put Michael Madden now in the second position. And I tell you what, we were talking about the battle that's going on and maybe how tense it's going to be in that team chat between Harris and Olenek. I think right now Andrew Harris's best friend in the world is Greg Olenek, who might be able to slow up Landon Cardulo enough if they start racing each other. And that might keep Andrew Harris alive in this thing to see if that 13 burns up some tires. And man, look at how much faster Markle is, and that kind of threw Harris and Madden off their line a little bit. A slider for Andrew Harris, and he keeps it going.
While that happened, Landon Cardulo passed Greg Olenek.
Everything happening there in 3 and 4 that time, and we got the top 5 and a fast lap truck on fresh tires, all under a blanket
outside the lead.
Keep in mind that 42 truck, he's getting his lap back after just pitting, so it's going to be Madden second in line here. He's going to be the race leader. Brad Herman going to dive down, and now that inside line opening for Landon Cardulo to try to move around Andrew Harris, who's still fighting a loose truck.
Landon Cardulo now in the playoff lucky dog position, just, tenths of a second ahead of Andrew Harris and Greg Olenek. Greg Olenek begging Andrew Harris to get out of the way so he has a shot at this thing, but Andrew Harris is not going to give up that spot.
He's not going to give up that spot, that's for sure, because if anything happens to Landon Cardulo, right now Andrew Harris is in position, but I think those tires are gone on that 87 truck. He has been loose and loose and loose every turn these past few laps, and it's going to open up a wide open window for Landon Cardulo right now, as by the way, we still got a heck of a battle going on for the race lead, 1/10 of a second between Madden and Herman.
Yeah, Madden doing everything he can to stretch that truck out sideways, so that way no possible way that Brad Herman can get through, but if he does that, that might slow up Landon Cardulo and bring in the other two guys for playoff lucky dog. So we're not done yet, guys.
No, and this could all change in an instant too. Think about it, if Madden and Herman start fighting enough, they make a little contact, all of a sudden that could pile back in and everything's still alive. But right now, looking at the pace, 2 to go, man, if I'm Landon Cardulo, I'm just happy where I am and just going to be very patient here and not force an issue because he's sitting in a golden spot. It's all down to Madden and Herman for the race lead now.
Yeah, I mean, this turned into a pit strategy race really, really quickly once we had that first caution, but really it has played out beautifully here. So Michael Madden is up front, Brad Herman just behind. Not sure Brad Herman's going to have the horses. As we get to the white flag, Michael Madden takes the white flag here in Texas.
And that's the one sight that Harrison Olenek did not want to see. That white flag, no caution can save him the rest of the way. And Landon Cardulo with a 1.5 second advantage for that lucky dog.
Yeah, and I don't see anything that's going to keep Landon Cardulo at this point. I don't see Brad Herman trying to make a push here or anything like that. I think he has learned the lesson from Ryan Johnson last season, where he is just going to set that second place and let Michael Madden have that win. Michael Madden wins the Lone Star 135.
And look at that. 3 straight Texas races in the Truck Series, 3 straight pole sitters that go on to victory lane. Even though it's a bit chaotic at times, that trend continues.
I'm not saying that my pick lost. My pick got the playoff lucky dog. We'll take it.
Hey, in fact, my pick won everything here tonight. So, everybody that talks about that playoff curse, guess what? Not really a thing this season.
No. It's a great race. I mean, all the way around. Really, really great race. It was a lot of fun to sit there and see all the strategies playing out. But Michael Madden will take that win and get a well-deserved burnout here at Texas.
Man, I'll tell you what, that might be one of the scariest sights right now, that Michael Madden going to be starting this playoff with a win. That's going to put him back above that cut line, most likely. He entered this race in 13th in the points, but only 4 behind the cut line. But as tight as everything was, he's going to put himself right back in the running here. Solid road course racer. He might say otherwise, but solid road course racer coming to Mid-Ohio, which pretty generous road course, really. I think that's going to be an entertaining one. But this is a site that nobody in this truck field in the playoffs wanted to see, was that 15 getting momentum right now.
I'm telling you, this is shades of Scott Healy in season 1 of the Cup Series, where just kind of got into the playoffs. That's really all he had to do, and then once he got to the playoffs, just took off running.
It's got that feel. He did it last season as well, Michael Madden, just kind of that little bit of a slower start and then building momentum as we go. And like I said, I think this is a scary sight for everybody.
I agree. Michael Madden takes the win. Brad Herman, another playoff driver, will take second place. Landon Cardulo works his way into the playoffs by winning the playoff Buckaroo, the lucky dog. And then Andrew Harris and Greg Olenek come up just short in their bids to make it into the playoffs.
And 6th place, our regular season champion, Matt Greathouse. Blair Holloman will finish in 7th. Jose Castellanos will finish in 8th. Kyle Spees, he has a nice rebound in 9th, as does Sean Jensick, who rounds out our top 10.
By the way, lost in all this was the entire team aspect of this thing, where you had Phoenix Virtual Racing versus JW Racing. And look, Phoenix Virtual Racing has 3 trucks in the top 6. So they are going to take that win and tie it up at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, that is absolutely huge there. Zoo Yost and Threat Level Midnight, that 3-4. A little bit more math that might be needed there, but it looks like Zoo Yost probably going to take that one over Threat Level Midnight, so that thing going to tighten up even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's wow. What a crazy race. So going on down the list, Michael Larch in 11th for JW Racing. Nathan De La Rosa racing for JBR, but kind of as an independent too. He will take 12th. Bo Tiffany for JW Racing in 13th. Nathan Nixon for Rat Pack Racing in 14th. And Trevor Williams will finish off in 15th position.
16th place will go to Mike Lepicki. Troy Techmeyer will finish in 17th. Jose Ruiz will finish in 18th. Corey Stahl will be in 19th. And Raul Meza will round out the top 20, as we had 27 drivers out of the 37 in the field finish on the lead lap.
I don't think anybody has taken a breath the last 10 laps of this race, but none more so than Landon Cardulo. Welcome to the booth, man.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. Playoff lucky dog. Congratulations, you are in.
Yeah, I was I didn't even have this track scheduled, and it was just ran a solid race throughout the whole thing. Different strategy going on, so that was exciting. I know Greg was on a total different strategy than us, and he ended up pitting a couple laps for us, and saw him in front of me and knew that we had the fresher tires, and I knew that we could have passed him. And then my spotter told me that Andrew was leading, and I didn't know that, so it made it even more stressful. But we're here, and I didn't really think that I would be here, honestly.
Well, now that you are, I don't even know if you've had a chance to really think about the rest of this round. But coming up next, we got the break off next week for every driver that's in a relationship to kind of save those relationships there. But after that, we go to Mid-Ohio for the only road course in the playoff. How do you feel about that one? Coming off this momentum of getting that lucky dog.
I like my road courses. I'm pretty solid there, and never really put in the time at Mid-Ohio, so I'm definitely going to take the week to practice. But the momentum's huge. We finished 5th last week at Michigan. Atlanta, we ended up getting somebody else's mess, and then the 2 races prior to that, solid finishes as well inside the top 5. So we're there. Like you guys said, I haven't thought about playoffs, so I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, Mid-Ohio is a really, really fun track to drive. I really, truly enjoy it. But, with you making it into the playoffs now and everything, is your next goal just to make it into the next round, or is it to really, really put pressure on those top guys?
I think it's a little bit of both. I kind of take myself as sort of an underdog this season. I mean, the past seasons I've been in this, with SRN, I've been up there and I've competed, but I just let this season get away from me, and I'm definitely not as fast as some people in here, but I think I can make a run at it, and I'm going to give it my all every track.
That's the way to do it, man. Who do you have to thank here tonight before we let you get back to it?
I want to thank my spotter, Jacob, Anderson Auto Group, Bullify. They actually, some big news, they're going to be renewing their sponsorship for the whole 2023 season. So that's big for us. All my teammates, they gave me a little prep talk before the race. And, I always say it when I do interviews, I can be running this without them. So huge thanks to them. And you guys put on a great broadcast, like always, and then just thanks to the whole field for racing clean on that one. That was a fun race.
Well, man, congratulations once again on making it into the playoffs. We have turned that number white, which means you are in. Congratulations, and man, we look forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks at Mid-Ohio.
Thanks, guys.
All right, man, have a great night.
You as well.
All right, let's get Brad Herman up here and find out what he was thinking on that last lap, just to kind of get it in there, or was he gunning for it? Brad Herman, welcome back up to the booth, man.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, this is becoming a common occurrence to see you up here.
Oh, I like it.
Well, so tell us about those last few laps. I mean, Michael Madden had the lead there, and it kind of looked like you might have a shot at it, but I'm not sure you pushed too hard. I think, were you just satisfied with second place at that point?
No, I was not satisfied, but I just could not get that run. I don't know why. I was maybe I overdrove myself just a little bit, but I definitely know this racetrack, and I felt like I was gonna have another shot, but just was a little bit behind the ball all race and could not fully get on Madden, and he definitely did good. I thought I had him there at the end when Harris put that block on him. I thought it was all mine, but man, he prevailed. He did a hell of a job.
Either way, that second place is going to be a great start here in this opening round. And I kept watching you two, you and Madden, both, the last two champions, the last two that, you kind of really built momentum as the playoffs started and carried that through all the way. Is it kind of feeling like that again this year, where we're just, it has been a little bit of a tough stretch and then starting to get that momentum going once again?
Yeah, I feel like it is definitely like that for me. Running all the league races and getting some races under your belt, and just, we race all the time, but getting in the competitive aspect of it and really getting to know what you have to do and getting into the season and to the end of it, I think it all comes into play.
Well, man, I mean, you've had a great season already, and obviously, I mean, doing really, really well in the playoffs already as well. I know we're going to Mid-Ohio here in a couple weeks, so a couple weeks of practice to get that done since we're off for Valentine's Day. But who do you have to thank here tonight for all the support?
I just got to thank TJ's team, first off, for always sponsoring my racing endeavors for the trucks. He's been a big supporter, so I got to thank him. I gotta thank Zoo Yost for just being a hell of a team, and the sister team, Rat Pack. We have a hell of a time practicing and really helping out. So, and I gotta thank you guys in the booth.
Well, man, we appreciate you, and definitely look forward to seeing how that truck race at Mid-Ohio turns out. So we will be on the lookout for that. But, man, have a great couple weeks. Enjoy the time off, and we will see you in a couple weeks at Mid-Ohio.
Thanks, guys. Have a good off week.
All right, and let's see if we can't find Mr. Madden himself. And I mean, Michael, I'm just going to tell you straight up. Brandon picked you. I was going to pick you. It was going to happen, but then he got the first pick. Just really, really screwed me up. So just when you see the broadcast, I was going to pick you. I really was.
I appreciate it, Sean. It means a lot to me.
Tell us about those last few laps, especially when you got there with a lap car that was faster, or a lap truck that was faster, and then that big just group of 5 drivers all there vying for that champion, or vying for that one spot.
Yeah, so I mean, I was trying to think big picture tonight, and I kind of just got a good jump. I mean, I had to learn all race, and really what transpired in that last stint was just when Landon passed me, I kind of picked up on something. I passed him back, and then going into it, once I knew I was ahead of Brad, I knew it was going to be key to keep him in front. So I want to thank him for racing clean. I didn't really give him the nicest block there coming out of pits. But yeah, with all those guys stacking up in the 42 on freshies, I know those guys were fighting for a lot more. I didn't really think that they cared that I passed them, and then the 42 kind of got into it with the 87, and then here comes Brad, and I'm like, oh boy, I got to make this stick on the outside, and I was lucky to just be able to sail it in there deep, and it stuck, and I got a good run off the top, and just kind of made it happen.
And after you took the checker, one of the things I was talking about was I think there's a little bit of fear that just went into the field, and this how much this feels like last season, where just a little bit of a slower start, building the momentum as the season goes, and now you start the playoff with the win. How much does it feel like last season right now, starting with all this momentum right now?
I mean, it feels a lot, man. It was a lot of pressure. I mean, you guys know I like to win, and I like to come into the playoffs with at least some winning mojo, and at least tasting it and getting that positive momentum rolling. And then not having a win, I really focused on putting practice in this week. I love Texas. Sean knows Texas, how I came into the series, and I kind of came in with a bang winning here. So this place means a lot to me in just running in this series, and just being able to, put my best foot forward and start the playoffs on a high note, one of my favorite tracks. So it just bodes great. You can't do anything better than max points, even when you're on the cut line. So it definitely is going to help me going into Mid-Ohio in 2 weeks, and hopefully we'll practice a little bit before we get there, because I don't even think I own the track.
Well, I mean, that was going to be my next question. I know you've said at multiple road courses that you're not really the best road course driver, but hey, we've got 2 weeks now because of the Valentine's Day break. Is this going to be the main focus for these next 2 weeks?
I'll give you a little insight. Don't pick me to win, because I don't want to disappoint you. But if I could stack a penny and get out of there with a top 10, I'll be ecstatic, and just keep the positive momentum rolling into Kentucky, where that's one of my other favorite tracks in this whole lineup. I really feel like the mile and a half bode well to me in this first little round here, so pretty happy with it.
Well, man, tell us who you have to thank here tonight before we let you get back to celebrating.
There's a lot of people to thank. I want to thank you guys for what you do every week. I know it's been a long season here at SRN, and I appreciate you, Tripp, and Brandon and Craig, everybody putting this thing together. Rat Pack boys, Brad, Yost, all those guys, Blair, and then just my teammates, Dow, sticking it out, even though he got sent down pit road early on his mistake. But we've been having a great season together, and just want to thank Sean and the guys at Sparkle and Shine. All they do for me. This is like the 4th season they've been with me, so I appreciate all their support, and we will keep it going.
Well, let's see if you can keep stacking those pennies as we head to Mid-Ohio here in a couple weeks. But, man, congratulations. Happy Valentine's Day, and go enjoy that time off.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, man. Have a great night. All right, man, what a great just fun race. But we got another fun one tomorrow. We got the Xfinity Series heading to the Roval.
Oh yeah, that's going to be either a very good feeling or a very bad feeling to be starting this off with a road course. And one thing I can tell to those drivers that might not necessarily like a road course to start it off, you're getting it out of the way, because every single series has a road course here in the opening round of the playoffs, and two of them happen to be when we come back from Valentine's Day. But for these Xfinity guys, it starts off that playoff run, so they go to a very familiar racetrack at this point.
Oh yeah, and we've seen really good races there, and we have seen absolute catastrophes there as well. So hopefully we get the former rather than the latter. So we'll see what happens as we head there to the Roval tomorrow night, Thursday, February 9th at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have not liked or subscribed to the broadcast, please do that, so that way you don't miss any of our broadcasts. I know we missed one last night because of some medical issues and all that stuff, but we're going to try not to miss any more this season, guys, because playoffs are here. It is time to get going. But on that note, for everyone here at Speed Racing Network, always remember, go a little faster.